Hello and welcome to Uzreport World News. My name is Barnona Zarzoda. Uzbek commercial banks on January 11 presented investment projects worth some $1 billion. 10 large commercial banks have prepared proposals to implement 136 projects totaling $1.5 billion.
Bankda eng katta maqsad muddaosi mahallaga TO qilish. Mahalla TO degani xonadan boy, lekin umumiy har bir mahallani o'zini
Agrobank has announced its intention to create $501 million worth of textile clusters. The goal is to significantly increase the level of cotton fiber processing and thereby the volume of production of finished products. The National Bank of Foreign Economic Activity has plans to implement 6 projects worth $225 million this year. They include projects for the production of polyvinyl chloride and aluminum frames in the Autonomous Republic of Karakalpakstan, Navoi and Namangan regions, and the creation of a transport and logistics center for servicing freight trains and trucks in the capital and Tashkent region. Uzpromstroybank is planning a project worth $110 million in the Free Economic Zone Urgut to provide for the annual production of 600,000 tons of steel. Ipoteka Bank intends to invest in a modern logistics center on 27.5 hectares in Kuyuchirchik district. Another project involves the creation of a national shopping town in the old town part of the capital using loans from Asaka Bank. Mirziyoyev urged the involvement of young entrepreneurs in projects.
On January 28th, President Mirziyoyev held an online meeting with his South Korean counterpart, Moon Jae-in. Agreements were reached on the continuation of regular political consultations and preparations of a program of events dedicated to the 30th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic relations between the two states. According to Sanjar Valiyev, the Deputy Director of Institute for Strategic and Interregional Studies under the Uzbek President, these numerous projects and investments were initiated by the President of South Korea.
Перспективных направлений. Я бы особенно тоже остановился на...
And here I would also like to clarify that this is a very large-scale and wide project which was initiated by President Moon Jae-in. It is aimed primarily at enhancing interconnection with various regions of Eurasia and Central Asia, and in particular Uzbekistan, which the South Korean side intends to build. It is actively pursuing appropriate measures taken to build bridges with countries across Eurasia in terms of strengthening trade, transport, communications, digital communication. Of course, all these creates a solid foundation for building such long-term strategic programs of cooperation between our countries. This year, within the framework of ongoing projects with the participation of Korean partners, Uzbekistan is expected to raise investments in the amount of up to $40 million. 55 new projects are being prepared in high-tech industries worth over $3 billion, including the energy sector, oil and gas complex, etc.
Большой по своим масштабам, широкий проект.
I would focus on the health sector. Both states, both leaders in the coming period are setting very large, ambitious, I would say, plans for the development of this area to introduce modern technologies, digital technologies, information and communication technologies. All this is in great demand.
Uzbekistan aims entering the leading chess powers by 2025, according to a decree signed by the country's president. The document focuses on improving the system of selection of highly gifted young chess players, promoting chess among children and adults, and creating children's and youth chess schools.
Particular attention will be paid to players with disabilities. A separate chess division will be created in the structure of the National Paralympic Association. Starting from the next academic year, 150 schools will introduce chess training. These schools will specialize exclusively in chess. Just like some schools specialize in maths or English, we will spend over $700,000 for these schools to buy the necessary equipment so that children do not need anything, said Aziz Abduhakimov, Deputy Prime Minister of Uzbekistan, head of the newly established Republican Council for the Accelerated Development of Chess. Another 1,000 ordinary schools will introduce chess training on a competitive basis. The best, most talented guys will be selected. We will allocate around $100 for this purpose, and most importantly, a revolutionary solution. Chess will be introduced into the subject physical culture. There is no such system anywhere in the world. In fact, we will create a new chess generation. For this purpose, some $2 million will be allocated from the state budget, he added.
Uzbekistan has banned the import of certain types of goods. The list includes 529 items of foreign goods and services which are produced by 2 or more national producers.
The move aims at supporting domestic producers and expanding their participation in the public procurement system. The list includes food products, chocolate, waffles, cookies, sunflower oil, dairy products, meat, fish, pharmaceutical products, medicines and medical devices, household appliances, air conditioners, refrigerators, monitors, washing machines, televisions and other devices, vehicles, tractors, cars and trucks. The government has also approved the procedure for granting preferences for locally produced goods in the public procurement process. By September the 1st, 2021, the authorities plan to launch a central information portal on public procurement.
Ombudsman Saidbek Azimov has inspected conditions created at the General Regime Colony for Men. The monitoring group studied the compliance with sanitary and hygienic requirements, organization of food, labor, spiritual and educational work, and medical care for convicts.
The President of Uzbekistan, in his address to the Oli Majlis, noted the necessity of radically revising the system of preventing torture in operational search activities, investigation and execution of punishments. And the Ombudsman are required to establish a system of quarterly monitoring visits to pre-trial detention facilities and penitentiary institutions with the participation of members of the public. In each place of execution of sentences, there is a mailbox of the Ombudsman where persons deprived of their liberty can send their appeals if their rights are infringed. Moreover, we guarantee the confidentiality of letters, our representatives of the district themselves personally having the key to the mailbox open and send it to us. Every month, more than 50 complaints are received in the Republic, which we study.
Uzbekistan Airways has announced the launch of regular flights between Urgench and Fergana as the initial ones between small cities of Uzbekistan in many years. Flights will be operated regularly on Thursdays and Saturdays from February 11 on Airbus 320 aircraft. Plans to open flights between the cities of Fergana Valley and the historical cities of Uzbekistan with the aim of developing tourism were announced last spring. Uzbekistan is stamping out red tape, which has been a nerve-wracking time consumer for teachers many years. Now they can complete documents only in the electronic platform. Besides, Uzbekistan is planning to implement credit modular system in all universities of the country, where students would be able to study additional subjects of their interests.
The Ministry of Public Education announced the recent reforms at regular press briefing. The academic learning period will be reduced from 10 months to 8 months. Now the student studies for 15 weeks each semester. Another change is that the third semester has been added. It will be held at the request of the student in summer. Due to the fact that the third semester falls on the summer holidays, the professors go on vacation accordingly. Therefore, they need to be informed in advance and their work will be paid.
The audit company Ernst & Young has given a positive conclusion on the financial statements of state-run oil and gas firm Uzbekneftgaz for 2019. It was compiled on the basis of international financial reporting standards. Uzbekneftgaz has undergone independent financial audit with the assistance of international auditing and consulting companies. The company is intending to receive international corporate rating, the press service of the company said today. A corporate rating is said to allow Uzbekneftgaz to improve the company's investment attractiveness, transparency of corporate governance, enter the debt capital markets through the issue of Eurobonds, thereby diversifying the sources of financing. Degler and McNaughton last year assessed Uzbekistan's underground hydrocarbon reserves. KPMG Tax and Advisory was involved to evaluate the fair value of shares in the authorized capital of Uzbekneftgaz. Uzbekistan has no plans to impose another lockdown despite it has recorded the first case of British strain of coronavirus. This was announced by the Deputy Head of Sanitary and Epidemiological Welfare and Public Health Service Nurmat Otabekov during a briefing on Monday.
Under
the current circumstances, we believe there is absolutely no reason to reimpose lockdown. If we indulge in excessive calmness and start traveling to foreign countries, if we bring the disease in a large flow, then this may become the basis for imposing restrictions.
Some people argue that a new contagious strain targets children, putting them at high risk. Nurmat Otabekov said that it is not planned to close school, kindergartens and universities.
where necessary special attention will be paid to those at risk. Some countries have now reintroduced quarantine measures, some are relaxing the measures. In any case, everything will depend on the situation.
The first confirmed case of the UK virus variant was recorded last Saturday. The test of a 10-year-old girl confirmed that she has contracted the COVID-19. The girl traveled to the United Arab Emirates with her family last week.
Democrats in U.S. Congress filed a joint $1.9 trillion budget measure on Monday in a step toward bypassing Republicans on COVID-19 relief. That was just before President Joe Biden met with Republican senators Monday night at the White House. GOP Senator Susan Collins described the discussion as, quote, frank and useful, but told reporters there had been no breakthrough on a bipartisan bill.
I wouldn't say that we came together on a package tonight. No one expected that in a 2-hour meeting. But what we did agree to do is to follow up and talk further at the staff level and amongst ourselves and with the president and vice president on how we can continue to work together on this very important issue.
While the president has voiced a willingness to work with Republicans on a compromise effort, the White House has said they, quote, will not settle for a package that fails to meet the moment. Before the meeting, the top two Democrats in Congress, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, laid the groundwork for bypassing Republicans on COVID-19 relief, filing a joint budget measure with the Biden proposed price tag. With the Senate split 50-50 and Vice President Kamala Harris wielding the tie-breaking vote, Democrats could sidestep a 60-vote threshold and enact the coronavirus legislation with a simple majority, in a procedure called reconciliation. If deployed, it would be the first flex by Democrats since winning razor-thin control of the Senate. For the Republicans, their proposed plan offers no assistance to state and local governments, one of the items that a Biden advisor described as a must-have. It also offers stimulus checks starting at $1,000, less than the $1,400 checks sought by Biden, and totals less than a third of the $1.9 trillion package.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. Since Brexit, you're no longer allowed to take certain foods to Europe, like meats, fruits, vegetables, fishes, those kinds of stuff.
This has been the impact of Brexit so far. Paperwork, long delivery times and higher prices.
Welcome to the Brexit, sir. I'm sorry. Oh my God.
Britain's departure from the EU has triggered the biggest change in trade since it joined the bloc 48 years ago.
It is the case that in the weeks ahead, we expect that there will be significant additional disruption, particularly on the Dover-Calais route.
There are problems at the moment caused by teething problems, people not filling in the right forms or misunderstandings.
According to real-time truck movement data, freight volumes moving between the two dropped 38% compared with the same time in January last year. Here's why. Fishermen were the first workers to be hit, presented with a barrage of new health checks, certificates and customs declarations. That delayed the movement of stocks to such an extent that they were rejected by European buyers as no longer fresh.
In 1973, Ted Heath, he sacrificed fishing to get the deal to go into Europe. Coming out of Europe, Boris has done the same, but it's worse this time.
Since then, other food producers, from cheese to high-end beef, have also been hit. About a fifth of small to medium-sized businesses have stopped exporting to Europe for now, put off by costly and overwhelming paperwork.
This, we have this one, we have this one. We are rebuilding supply chains already. You know, you're seeing these boats come from Rosslare. You're probably, there's some of the unaccompanied haulers already in advance of this, of increasing their fleet of trailers. You know, so you're going to see a big shift away from Dover, I think. You know, people built their businesses around that free-flowing channel. And so just to put it up overnight is really going to hurt some businesses.
The friction is forcing some companies to rethink their supply chains, particularly British firms that risk tariffs by selling goods into the EU that were made from materials originally imported from Asia. Online clothing giant ASOS, for example, expects a $21 million tariff hit. while Japanese carmaker Nissan plans to source more batteries from Britain to avoid tariffs on electric cars. Probably the most obvious impact can be seen in the ports. Ireland used to ship via Britain as it was speedier, but large ferries are now shipping goods directly between the EU member and the rest of the bloc, cutting out paperwork and delays. In Ireland, gaps have begun appearing on supermarket shelves as retailers struggle to cope with the customs paperwork. It's a situation that could deteriorate after a 3-month grace period for Northern Ireland supermarkets expires.
BP plunged to a $5.7 billion loss last year, its first in a decade. The global health crisis and subsequent restrictions took a heavy toll on oil demand, and the energy giant warned on Tuesday of a tough start to 2021 amid widespread travel restrictions. The full-year loss compared with a profit of $10 billion in 2019. Despite the weak environment, CEO Bernard Looney told Reuters that the company's transition to a greener future remains on track. BP shares were down over 3% in morning trade, though. They've lost more than 40% of their value over the past year and remain near 25-year lows. Not only battered by concerns over oil demand, BP faces doubts over its ability to successfully carry out an ambitious renewable energy plan. While the company flagged a weak start to 2021, oil demand is nevertheless expected to recover this year, and analysts expect global inventories to return to their 5-year average by the middle of the year.
Panasonic is enjoying Tesla's rise. The Japanese giant makes batteries for the US electric car pioneer, and the decade-old relationship looks to be paying off. On Tuesday, Panasonic raised its full-year operating profit outlook by more than a half, and said the batteries would now be among its moneymakers. Better known as a producer of home electronics, the firm has actually been moving away from low-margin consumer goods. Outgoing chief Kazuhiro Tsuga has focused it on housing fixtures, car electronics and batteries instead. Now the firm expects profit of about $2.2 billion for the year to the end of March. That would be down 22% on last year, but way ahead of its own earlier estimates and analyst forecasts. It's also despite a tough year for some segments, such as in-flight entertainment systems for airliners. Now the relationship with Tesla only looks set to deepen. In October, Panasonic said it was developing a new battery cell for Elon Musk's firm. It's also planning to add a new production line at the Nevada factory it co-owns with Tesla. Other electric vehicle makers are in its sights too. Panasonic says it's looking at building a battery business in Norway to tap into demand from European car makers.
And this was our last report. Thank you for watching and goodbye.